All right, as I left off with the last video, I'm completing the welds all the way around the perimeter here. And of course, it takes a long time based on the way it has to be done. I start out with everything tacked off about an inch apart. And then what I'll do is I'll start doubling up on that weld like every 4 inches. So I'll be skipping over 3 welds and then welding up the next weld, and it looks like a pattern like this when I'm going along here until it becomes continuous all the way around. It's just the way it works for me. I have to, something this large, by the time you take one lap, it's about cooled down to where you can start taking another lap around, putting the tack, taking your time, going real slow, so as to not to get galliwampuses and warps in the panels if you can help it. Anyway, so that's what I'm up to right now. Just a ditch digging job, but it's got to be done. Okay, so this is all welded up now, and it's all ground down, and the inside of the bed's been worked around the inside of the corners, and so the only thing I have to do now is I have to build the bed up about 3/16 of an inch. Just got that stock in today, but we're going to leave this alone for right now, and we're going to move on to the windshield. So what I've done over here is I've got the got an old windshield that I keep kicking around here, and I made this quick cradle here, which it's just basically a 1-inch square tubing, just tacked on the corners so I can cut it back apart easily. I took 1 inch by 1 inch 032 and I broke it over and made this L channel and then shrunk it to the shape of the glass at the top and at the base of the windshield, just so that when I get my actual windshield, I'll be able to turn this thing over and sit it on the bench upside down, and it'll be supported all the way along the majority of the shape. Now I've got some just some weather stripping foam stuck to the actual surface that'll contact the glass so as to not scratch up the glass while I'm working on it and building the windshield surround. So that's where I am right now, and we'll go on from here. Okay, I was expecting the new windshield to come in with a that rubber edge protector on it, like the last one I got from the same company, but it just came packed in a bunch of bubble wrap. At any rate, so I've covered it both sides with the spark arrestor paper so I can get started building the windshield surround. Anyway, you can see it sitting in the cradle here, so it's fully supported while I work on it. So I'll get started making the windshield surround now. Interestingly, this is 3/16 thick as opposed to the original, which was about 1/4 of an inch thick. So much lighter piece of glass than the original for sure. Okay, having the actual rubber bead that goes on the back of the glass, I was able to we're going to build this front a little bit more accurately than the back glass, knowing exact spacing. So it's a 3/16 actually spacer on the back, not 1/4 of an inch. But I got the material to build up the back to correct that. So what I've done here is I got some 3/16 inch plywood, and I scored it on the radial saw so that it's just left to the 1 ply here, and that way it more easily complies to the glass, and then I'll be cutting out my spacer accordingly. Anyway, I thought I'd show you that. Okay, so that's the perimeter built up, 3/16 of an inch. So now I've got to pack out the sides 1/4 of an inch so that I get a 1/4 inch cap around the entire windshield. As you know today, most things that are called out as, quarter-inch or whatever. If you get quarter-inch Lexan, it's not quarter-inch, it's 3/16. Same with plywood, quarter-inch plywood's 3/16. A lot of that has to do with its source manufacturing countries where everything's in metric. But anyway, so when you're looking for exactly those materials to space something out a specific size, it's kind of difficult to find something the exact thickness. When you want a quarter of an inch, unless you're willing to mill your own stuff. When my dad passed away about 10 years ago, my mom had me clean out his shop. He was a woodworker hobbyist, and a lot of material left over. And this stuff dates back probably to the 1960s. This is quarter-inch. It's actually a quarter-inch plywood. So I was lucky enough to have some of this they had left over from his days making stuff. Anyway, thanks, Dad. So I'll be packing this out with this quarter-inch, which is an actual quarter. All right, so we have this entire thing packed out a quarter of an inch around the entire perimeter, and so now I can start working on making the bed for it, starting with the corners as I did with the other window bed, and we'll just go on from there. All right, so this is pretty much why I need to make these corners independent of the other two, the long runs and the short runs. This thing changes directions in so many different ways, as you can see here, in order to comply with the corner of the glass. It fits over here just like that. But yeah, that's that's not a shrinking and stretching job, not by a long shot. Anyway, that's one. 3 more to go. Okay, for those of you who haven't seen some of my other videos on some of the metalworking tools I use, just thought I'd show you these again because they're some of the cheapest tools you can get. I think they're under $400. You can get a shrinker and a stretcher to make your own stand, obviously. But you can get them from Eastwood, you can get them from Harbor Freight. There's a couple places you can get them. But basically what they are is they're two jaws that are there's a large piece at the top that has a V in it, and then as you press down, it spreads the jaws out, and then there's a spring that retracts them. And what it is these two jaws, they separate, or in this case over here, it's reversed, and there's a wedge that goes in the other direction, and it pulls them together for the shrinker. What that does is it grips the metal, and you can see those little grip marks there, right here. And it either pushes the metal apart or pulls the metal together, bunches it up. And what that does is as you do that, you see I've got a 90-degree bend in this piece of metal that I'm using for the windshield track. That'll create a curve in your piece. Now, obviously, depending on where I'm going, I can make a curve in both directions with this, which makes it excellent for making repair pieces for, around wheel openings and windshield beds, some of the most common parts of older cars that rust out, and then you have to get patch panels and everything else. And but if you've got access to some 035 or 22 gauge sheet metal, and you have one of these guys here and you're patient, you can pretty much form any curved piece that would replicate your either your inside your windshield or rear window beds, or any other place like the rim around your wheel openings. But I just thought I'd show you that, and I'll show you how this right now I'm stretching this out. I want to put a curve in it, as you can see, in that direction here. Kind of hard to see it moving because I'm only taking a little bit at a time, just going easy. And that's the thing, you don't want to go too fast because you just have to end up redoing it, pulling it back in with the shrinker if you go too far. But anyway, I just thought I'd show you that again. That's what I'm working with to get this windshield bed worked up. Okay, so you can see how that worked out back and forth with the shrinker stretcher, getting it shaped up lay flat on the glass and then go around here. Decided not to go with separate corner pieces down here because this is a pretty sharp corner here. There's no need to, it's not radius like that upper corner, so I can do this easily in 2 pieces. At any rate, so just working my way around here. Okay, so I've got the surround all tacked together in the corners here, just some light tacks. I don't want to lay a lot of heat to it, obviously, because I've got wood and tape and other things over here that I don't want to set fire to my windshield. So basically, I had the air nozzle to the ready. After I tacked it, I'd cool everything down and wherever I tacked it. And you can also see that I ran a piece of 1-inch tubing across to stabilize this frame. And then also out to the corners, I just put some 3/8 tubing to try and also stabilize the shape before I go ahead and weld these up, because it'll have a tendency to pull around as I weld these up. So I want to make sure I maintain this shape. Also, it'll make it easier to make sure that it holds the shape once I introduce it to the car. So that's where I'm at right now, and we'll go on to the next step. Also, what I've done is I took the additional step of laying some sheet metal down in over top of the glass. Even though I have the spark-resistant paper down and it's all taped up, I just thought, you know, it doesn't hurt. Just take a little bit more time to protect the inside of the glass, make sure nothing burns through any hot balls or anything as I'm trying to weld up this this frame. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. All right, so this is with the window bed just set in here. I had to take it back out and correct some slight shaping issues right in this area here. Using 2 separate pieces made this transition a little bit wobbly, so I had to take it back, cut those 2 sections out, set it back down on the glass, reshape it a bit, join the 2 pieces together, and do the centerpiece all in one. That way it had a little bit better flow across the top of the roof. Anyway, some things that are going to have to happen here. This was a real tight spot on my car, so I'm going to cut these big giant humps out, which are normally the places where the cowl welds to. These have to go because we're going to have a removable cowl here and behind the hood. At any rate, you know, similar to, you know, what's on a modern car right here. So the fenders are going to have to flow into the A-posts like that. Everything has to kind of join up in this one junction right here. So I have to get the A-posts. You see, I got a piece of sheet metal here to kind of demonstrate. This is going to have to come over and cap this entire area here. You can see there's a little notch at the top of the door here. And that basically has to kind of coincide with that. Finish that off. And basically, you know, the old Daytonas had these fairings that went over. There were stainless steel fairings that screwed. There were 3 screws that held them in, and what they did was they capped over the window trim, and they came all the way over, and they covered the rain gutters for better aerodynamics around here. This is actually doing the same thing, but we're building it into the car as just a solid A-post, similar to what you have on a modern car. Anyway, this piece has to go in anticipation of a cowl piece that's going to come up and cover the base of the glass, and then the back of the fender will be extended. Normally the back of the fender here would go in this direction to go around the cowl that's built at body level and at the hood level. So since we're going to have a cowl that goes deep down behind the hood, the fenders have to extend up into this area right over here, and then complete out in a direction that blends into the back of the hood. So all of that has to kind of be anticipated as far as how high up in the original bed this all fits. As you can see, it kind of has a little bit actually, it's not really. It's a kind of an optical illusion here as far as how this tapers. But anyway, the other consideration is to get this so that the sheet metal will blend right down off the roof from this point here to here. And so it's a lot of back and forth, and of course the hole is not exactly 100%, you know, square, but the glass, you know, I'm not tweaking the glass, so I'm maintaining this shape and doing my balancing act accordingly between all of the points of reference that I have to deal with here. Lots to think about, lots to remember, so anyway, that's where we're at right now. All right, before securing the window bed to the car, just want to make sure that the windshield lays down nice and flat without any twists or any problems. So I've just got it tacked in 4 corners, and I set the glass in there, and see there's a nice 1/4 inch space all the way around the perimeter here. Hopefully the bead will be flexible enough to go around that tight corner. It's laying down in there. It's not sticking up, you know, in any corner over here or there or the center. It's sitting down nice and solid all the way across. So that's what I'm looking for. And so we'll go on from here. Okay, securing the top bed was easy enough. Just basically running welds every 1.5 inches from the existing bed down to the inside corner, or the outside corner, I should say, of this bed. The sides, what I did was I ran the abrasive wheel down through here so that I made an even space for about 70 thousandths steel, and then I slid the steel down in. I welded it on the back side of the A post, and then I had drill holes where I could plug weld that 70 thousandths to this side window bed. Now what I'm doing over here is I'm taking 45 thousandths, and this is your top of your, normally your top of your dash bed right here. So what I'm doing is I'm taking and joining, I'll be plug welding this piece here into here, and then I'll be continuous welding this upper piece here. Anyway, most of this will be hid by the frit. The frit will be about 1.25 inches on the bottom side, and of course around the whole perimeter of the glass. Anyway, that's why I'm going to be joining this. I'll be running another piece of sheet metal down here also to make it substantial to this piece, because all this, most of this is getting cut away, you know, right about here and around these pivot points. I won't be actually using the pivot points other than as a reference for angle, and also for, because they both head off in different directions, and also for center location. So I'll be maintaining these pivot points for the wipers, but be using a different mechanism than the stock mechanism. Anyway, that's what I'm up to here, and we'll keep going. Okay, so I've got this thing secured now. The flange is all welded up on the back side here. And I still have to go through and finish stitching this across the top, so this is completely closed up here. I've put some upstands over here to hold this, keep this from rotating, make that a little bit more solid. Anyway, so the next step is going to be to close in the top there. The metal on the A post has to be added, and yeah, so that's the next step. That's next week. This is all I'm going to get done for this week. Also, I'm going to be moving along to closing in these roof sides over here where I had the rain gutters cut off, and hopefully we can make good progress there. At any rate, that's all I'm going to do for this week, and I appreciate everybody for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.